Programs don't want the same kind of person a million times. They want a bunch of different kinds of people to work together.
You can create a fulfilling life as an actor.
We know how hard it can be to pursue your dreams. There's no roadmap to success in our industry, which is why we're here for you.
I'm Cynthia Corbin-Westphal, a Broadway music director, voice coach, and chair of the musical theater department at the University of Michigan.
And I'm Chelsea Wilson, a performer turned voice teacher to Broadway stars and vocal coach on Broadway, off-Broadway, and touring productions. We wear a lot of hats, but you can consider us your two-woman hype team.
Whether you're a Broadway pro, a community theater regular, or a young artist with big dreams, Broadway Vocal Coach is the place for you.
Welcome to the Broadway Vocal Coach podcast, where we help musical theater performers create fulfilling lives and take the next step in their careers. Hi friends, Chelsea here. If you're about to embark on the college audition journey, you are going to love today's conversation. And if that topic doesn't line up with where you're at in your career, I know you'll still be inspired by the wisdom and stories of the two young artists that joined me for this episode. I invited two of our BVC Aspire program alums to chat all about their college audition journey. Nissi Chepkuri-Sige is getting a BFA in musical theater at Texas Christian University, and as a talented musician, she's also a member of the marching band, which I find very impressive. Nissi was one of our TFCA scholars last year. The Fund for College Auditions, or TFCA, is a nonprofit that offers artistic preparation and college guidance to acting and musical theater students with limited resources. And they focus on supporting groups that are historically and currently underrepresented in theater, film, and television. Nissi's story is so cool, and I can't wait for you to hear from her. I'm also joined by Julianne Ferguson, who's getting a BFA in musical theater at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, also known as CCM. We connected early in her audition journey because, like me, she's also from a small town in Utah. And like me, she also had no idea what the college musical theater audition process was going to be like when she started. With her dreams set on getting into a program out of state, I related so much to her dedication to the journey from start to finish. And it was a wild ride, which you're going to hear all about in this episode. If the college audition journey is in your future, you're going to love today's conversation, and you're going to love our upcoming live masterclass. You were invited to our free college musical theater auditions masterclass happening on October 13th, 2024. I'll be joined by BVC Aspire Program Director Julie Kavanaugh, and we're answering all of your burning questions about how to nail your college auditions and not burn out in the process. If you're tackling college musical theater auditions this fall or looking forward to that journey in the next few years, this class is for you. Students, parents, and support teams are all welcome. Save your seat for our free masterclass happening on Sunday, October 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern. The replay will be available for those registered, plus special bonuses for all attendees. Don't miss it. And now, let's get into today's episode. Nissi and Julianne, welcome to the BVC podcast. It is so wonderful to have you here. Hi, Julianne.
Hi.
Great to have you. And hi, Nissi.
Hello.
Great to see you both. We have done a lot of work together online in the past year, and now you are both settled in at freshman year of college. Oh my gosh. Okay, before we dive on in, will you guys just briefly introduce yourselves, tell us where you're from, where you're going to school, and then we'll just get into it. Nissi, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Nissi Chepkuri-Sige. I go to Texas Christian University. I'm from the DMV, or Damascus, Maryland, and my degree is a BFA in musical theater.
Ah, congrats, Nissi. So excited for you. And Julianne.
I'm Julianne Ferguson. I am from Stansbury Park, Utah, and I go to Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, and I am also getting a BFA in musical theater.
Amazing. Okay, how long have you both been at school? Nissi, you were just telling me.
I've been at school for 2 weeks.
Because?
Oh, because I'm in the marching band, so I was there a week early for band camp.
She does it all. She does it all. Amazing. That is so cool. And Julianne, how about you?
I've also been here for technically 2 weeks. So school started this Monday, but I was here since last Monday because we have diagnostic week. So we've been doing stuff for 2 weeks already.
Wow. Unbelievable. Okay, we're going to get into all things freshman year shortly, but let's back this way up. I have had the pleasure of knowing you both in the context of preparing for college auditions. That is what we met doing that like over a year ago now, right? last spring. Isn't that crazy? Absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. So last spring, we started together on the college audition process through the BVC Aspire program. And let's talk all things college prep. Maybe it feels like a distant memory, maybe a daydream, maybe a nightmare. We're going to discuss it all today. So, Julianne, maybe you can go first. What do you remember about what you knew at the very beginning of the college audition process? Maybe even before you knew anything about the process, like how am I supposed to get started? What do you remember that you knew about this process?
I remember that I knew absolutely nothing. And I just remember stumbling upon actually your guys' Instagram account, and you were like, should you get a BFA in musical theater? And I was like, that's a thing? Like, I didn't realize, I mean, like, I knew I wanted to, like, study it, but I didn't realize it was, like, a BFA or anything like that. So I really did not know much at all.
And Nissi, how about you?
I'm the same. I really didn't know anything. I knew I wanted to do it, and I knew like I could get a BFA, I could get a BA. I didn't know the difference. I just know you could get either or. I knew there was a thing called unifieds. I knew there was auditions. I just didn't know anything about like what it meant. I just knew the words, and I just didn't have like the actual definitions for the vocabulary.
What was the decision like to say, like, yeah, I am going to do this? Okay, I'm guessing you both were like, I like musical theater. Maybe I can make a career out of this. So, what was the decision to then say, I want to do this in college? I actually want to pursue this as my education on my way to my career. What was that like?
Honestly, I kind of gave up around the middle of my junior year, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go be a lawyer. Like that was my plan B anyways. Because I didn't think it would be possible for me. So thankfully, TFCA, the Fund for College Auditions, they told me, they were like, oh, you got the scholarship. You're a scholar. Because I completely forgot that I applied. So I was like, oh, whatever. Like, I'm not doing, like, musical theater out the window. I'm not doing it. But after having like a call with Ellen, and then she was like, I'm going to hook you up with BBC. We're going to do all this stuff. And this is how it's going to go. And I was just kind of like, wait a minute, this is a possibility for me, because I kind of just decided for myself it wasn't a possibility, but then I had the door open for me, like, oh no, this can happen for you. And I was like, oh, okay, actually I'm going to do it, because I wanted to do it anyways, and in the back of my mind I know I would have been regretting not taking that path anyways.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about TFCA, the Fund for College Auditions.
The Fund for College Auditions is a nonprofit that helps underrepresented students apply for college for like auditions for like musical theater, acting, and all that stuff. They pay for everything. They pay for coaching. They pay for flights. They pay for anything that you could possibly need. And they also mentor you and teach you what it takes, or help you get through the process. And it's a smaller program. My year there was 4 scholars, and we all kind of like are in community, and then we meet at Unifieds, and we partner with wonderful places like BVC Aspire, and we get our lessons from you guys, and then we get to work together and learn a lot about the college audition process, and we get to hopefully have significant financial aid, and that's like the main goal, is to be able to go to school debt free.
That's incredible. Yeah, it was such a pleasure to get to partner with TFCA, to be able to work with you and be able to assist you through this process. Shout out to TFCA. You guys are doing amazing work over there. Julianne, what was that like for you, saying like, okay, yes, this is what I'm going to pursue?
I've done acting since I was very little, and I think it was about the 7th grade when I realized, like, okay, this is what I want to do. But then again, it was like that whole, like, how do I go about doing it? And it was kind of just like, okay, I'm going to pursue musical theater. But once junior year hit, I was like, oh, I'm about to leave high school and, like, actually have to, like, work on pursuing it. And that's when I heard about studying musical theater in college. And so I thought about it, because I also knew another option was to just take workshops and just train on my own and, like, figure out different places that, like, will teach stuff, but it's not college. And I found that having a schedule for me and everything, like, would be the most beneficial. So that's why I specifically really wanted to study musical theater in college.
So, Julianne, you know this. I'm from a very small town in Utah, but you are from an even smaller town in Utah, like the tiniest town. And I know, and again, I went through this process like 15 years ago, right? So, like, there was hardly any information, and I just like kind of lucked my way into learning about colleges and where to apply and all of that. But did you have friends or upperclassmen who had gone through this process, or were you just trying to figure it out yourself for the first time, Julianne?
No, I did not. I knew a few people who like auditioned for BFA programs, but they were all in Utah, and I knew I wanted to go out of state, which is just a whole completely like different beast. Oh my goodness. I literally did not know a single person. So it was pretty crazy figuring that out.
Nissi, how about you?
I didn't really know anybody, though I went to a really small like boarding school and it was an all girls school. So a lot of people kind of took the liberal arts route or they took the STEM route. I knew one girl my freshman year, she was a senior and she went to get a BA at Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing about it from her because she was like, oh, I couldn't do the BFA route with our college counselors because of the way that our school worked. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's not for me then. But that's all I really knew, the only person I knew from it. But like, I didn't know her. I was a freshman, she was a senior. I just kind of heard the rumblings through like the shows, but like, we never really spoke.
So you had a lot of learning to do and eventually got some amazing support with your Aspire coaches and everything. And look at you now. Amazing. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's get into the nitty gritty of the process. What would you say surprised you most going through the audition process?
The amount of essays I had to write. I was
Mm.
not expecting that. I thought I was just going to be performing. But no, I had to write so many essays because some different schools would require more than one essay. And like each musical theater program, almost all of them had like a why do you want to do this? But they were different enough that I had to like write a completely different essay. So I really had to write so many, and I that was like the last thing I expected for college auditions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, honestly, was how kind everyone was. The way people were willing to like offer up information, I did not expect. I kind of was just like, oh, this is like a, you better figure it out for yourself. Like, you can't really ask anybody any questions and stuff like that. But the way that people were like very generous and helpful in, we have the same goal of trying to get into school, but people's willingness to like pick each other up along the way was really like surprising to me because like I kind of had preconceived notions of how it would be, but not necessarily based off of like anything that people have shown me. I kind of just like, oh, we're all trying to get into college, we're trying to do this. Of course, why would you? But everyone was just so kind and so like willing to help. Also like adults and like other people who were just like, oh yeah, this is how you do this is how you do that. And it was just really helpful for me.
That is a really lovely surprise. Did anything catch you off guard as being more challenging than you thought? Or, oh, I thought it was this way, maybe when it comes to the prepping for the pre screens or the prepping for the auditions, but oh, in fact, it was this way? Anything like that?
Honestly, the monologues, I personally am not, the monologues are not my favorite thing. I love a scene. I love acting through a song. A monologue is just, it's just a brick of text that I don't really like. And what was worse for me was the pre-screen because I was like, you're telling me I have to audition to let me know if I can audition for you. Like that like, that I think was the most stressful part for me and the most like difficult in my opinion, where it's just like, okay, so like I have to put these on video. I have to watch back these videos, which is another thing I hate. And then I have to send it to these schools and hope that they see these videos and they go, yes, you can audition. Not you're in, you can audition.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of a wild process, right? It's like, how many hoops do we have to jump through? And it's a lot of details to keep straight. It's a lot of, like Julianne was saying about the essays, it's almost the same thing for songs and monologues. Okay, are you meeting all the requirements for all of these?
Yeah, the pre-screens were particularly kind of stressful, mainly because for the most part, I think a lot of colleges, they did ask for the same thing, like the same, when you record, I don't know, sometimes they're so specific, like we want to see your entire body from head to toe, or sometimes we just want to see chest up. And so I remember that I recorded everything from knee up because I like checked everything and I was like, they at most want knee up. But then a couple colleges I checked back again and they were like, just kidding, we want to see head to toe. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to re-record that. That was definitely stressful, especially because, like, I mean, it was my fault for not double checking, but I double checked like a couple weeks or like a week before everything had to be due. And I was in the middle of like shows and everything. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to fit this in, but it worked out.
Wild, totally wild. Let's talk about, you apply to pre-screens and then you hope to hear back and then you're invited for live auditions. So when it comes to the actual application of it all, how many schools did you apply to? And then how many schools did you end up auditioning at, whether that was in person or via Zoom or at Unifieds? What was that breakdown? Julianne?
So I applied originally for 15 schools. I did get through the pre-screen for all of them, but I actually found I was really stressed out because I don't know how people can audition for like 25 to 30 schools. I met some people who've done that. Crazy. But I ended up having to drop a couple schools because I just like did not have the time to like stress out about auditions for them personally. So,
And Nissi, how about you? Do you remember kind of how many you applied to?
Yeah, I think it was about 19 to 20. I remember I did quite a few in like the DMV area. Like there was like quite a few schools that I could just drive to, which was really helpful, like being in like a metropolitan area. And then a lot of them I did at Unifieds. I know I did two online and that's it. And then the other ones were like BA, so you just sent in the video and they'll be like, "Okay, just wait and we'll give it back." So like I didn't have to do like another audition.
Yeah, let's talk about the time of it because it is a major commitment your senior year to go and audition. And even if you're just holding weekends for like a Zoom audition, say, or traveling to Unified. So what was that breakdown like for either of you? Nisi, like you said, you're in a major metropolitan area. I mean, it's a quick flight if you go to New York or Chicago Unified. So like what did audition season actually look like for you?
Audition season for me, honestly, was kind of stressful because of my like just juggling schoolwork. I didn't end up doing my senior show because I was like that would be a lot. That would be a lot for me. But I was like one of like a head of school at my school, so I had a lot of responsibilities, especially as a senior, and also all the fun senior traditions and activities that I wanted to be a part of. But I was also auditioning. Like all my friends would be like, "VC, we never see you ever. Like, where are you?" Like I'm like, "Oh, I'm hiding in the arts building. I live there now." But I think because of where I was, I'm really thankful because New York was just an Amtrak away, 3 hours. I'd go really early in the morning and then just like take the train. And then I was really close to like DC. So like the like schools that were in DC were pretty good for me. And Chicago was only an hour flight away. So I was really like, I'm thankfully in like a place where like everything is kind of just like localized. And I did end up taking like the week off of school for Unifieds. And I had to plan that actually almost like a year and a half in advance with my school because students don't do this. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what this is. This is actually a requirement for me to do. Like I need to do this. This is not like a choice or like something fun. Like this is, or like it is fun, but like this is required for me to apply to school. So that's what I found like with the audition process was juggling everything. That was like the most difficult part. But I honestly, it was really fun meeting a lot of people and meeting like people who want the same thing as you, because in high school you do your shows and it's like obviously people are interested, but like these are people who are interested to the point where they need to expand their education on the collegiate level, and like talking to people with that same dedication and drive, really, like as stressful as it was really nice to like see like, oh, I'm moving on into the right direction.
I saw Julianne shaking her head when you said that New York City was a 3-hour Amtrak away. I could just like see in her eyes like, wow, if only, if only.
yeah.
I feel you. So what was audition season like for you? Because if you were traveling for Unifieds for schools, like it's a long way to go from the western part of the US.
Very different experience. I really am so thankful that I live in 2024 because virtual auditions are a thing. Those were great. And I also went to Chicago Unifieds, but that was like the only one like that we could really afford to go to, which was great because I got to audition for a lot of schools there too. I also had to take like a week off of school and not do a show that was like opening during that time, but it was worth it in my opinion.
So Julianne, what I'm hearing from you is it sounds like you did all of your auditions at Unifieds or virtual. You didn't audition on campus for any schools. Is that right?
Unless it was Utah. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's a question that we get a lot from people is like, will it look like I'm not as committed if I don't audition on campus? Or, is Unified's better than this or that or whatever? And the thing that we always say is like, no, there is no one way to show like your interest in the school. And there is no type of audition that is like graded higher than another, truly. And as we're seeing, I'm going to take a wild guess that you got into schools that you didn't audition for on campus, both of you. Like, there were programs that you were able to express interest in doing a virtual audition or being at Unifieds. I am curious though, when it kind of comes to making a final decision, what was that process like, both from had you been to the campus? Were you waiting for certain results to come in, et cetera, et cetera? So Nisi, what was that? What was that like? And tell me the timeline for this too. When were you making final decisions?
Honestly, I feel like I don't know, the timeline for me was I feel very big because I started like getting into schools earlier than I thought I would be getting in. So like pre Chicago Unifieds, like I'd be getting answers back from schools.
And Chicago Unifieds was what, February? Is that right?
Yeah, February. So like I was getting them in like January and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do with this."
It feels kind of nice though to have like an acceptance under your belt and you're like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
okay, I'm
I'm like,
definitely
"Oh,
going to
well,
college.
yeah, like
Yeah.
God forbid, like I don't get in anywhere else. Like I have you guys." But for me, honestly, after like the whole like process, it was really easy for me to pick a school because I kind of after auditioning, kind of like looking into schools more and more and after like talking to schools, I kind of knew what I did and didn't want in a school. If that makes sense, like I would like talk to a school, nothing wrong with the school, but I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't realize this was also another thing. Like, I couldn't find that on your website, but after talking to a faculty member, I don't know if that's what I want." But I still obviously auditioned and whatever. But what it looked like for me was honestly number one thing was going to school debt free, going to school with like whoever gave me the most money, honestly, was probably gonna like float to the top because I had picked schools that my list was of schools I wanted to go to already. So it's not like,
Mm.
oh, like this is a dud school or whatever. Like all the schools were schools that I would realistically go to. It's just which one would be easiest for my family and for me to like justify going to. And the reason why I picked TCU is because they gave me a lot of money and I also had a lot of options where like some schools are more conservatory style. You couldn't do much else outside of school or outside of the program where like here I'm able to be in the marching band and do other things and join clubs and do a lot of other stuff. And proximity to like family. A lot of my family lives in Texas. So I didn't realize this was a reason until I started going to school and I was like, "Oh, can I leave all of my stuff at my aunt's house while I'm like start sending my Amazon packages to her instead of trying to get a PO box?" And things are like easier that way. So I think as I like started narrowing down to like 1 to 2 or 3 schools, TCU started like popping out as the best option. Like my cousins can come visit me on the weekends or during the week and bring me food when I'm sad and stuff like that. Where a school where it's like a little more detached from like people I know would be it would be a lot harder and a more difficult transition for me into college life.
I love what you said about everything that was on your list was places that you would have liked to go to school. And that is really how it should be. Something that we advise students as they go through the BVC Aspire program is there's got to be one thing about every school on your list that you like or that you can get excited about. And the other thing you said about kind of your options get narrowed down for you, like the path reveals itself. And then at the end, you may have a decision to make. And it sounds like you made an awesome decision for you. That's amazing. Love that. Okay, Julianne, what was this process like for you? I also think it was a very long timeline, if I remember correctly.
Oh, it absolutely was. So I actually also got accepted into a school before Unifieds, which is like around the time where I auditioned for all the other schools. And that was back in December. I felt really lucky because it was also one of my top schools. It really just like took a huge weight off of my shoulders because I knew no matter what, I was like going to probably be able to go to a school that I am really excited about. So then it was February, and February was kind of like the height of like all the auditions because I had Unified, and that's where all my like virtual auditions were happening too. And it kind of all was like the beginning of February. And then after that, it was just a waiting game. And it would sometimes be really stressful because like I swear I would check my phone every single time I got like an email notification. I'd like check it so fast. It was crazy. And there would be some schools that would just like give me an answer like very shortly after, but then some took until May, Like, it was insane. In fact, I originally got waitlisted for CCM.
When was that? When did you get that notification?
That would have been around, I want to say March. Obviously, CCM was like kind of my dream school at that point, but so was the other school I got accepted to. So I kind of fought really hard with CCM, and I kept on emailing them and emailing them. And I felt so bad because I thought I was annoying them. Actually, this is like my favorite. So I walked into my classroom, my choir teacher's classroom, and there was like the band teacher in there too. And like, I went to them and I was like, guys, I'm so stressed because I really want to like get off the wait list for CCM. And they were like, "Okay, have you emailed them?" And I was like, "I just emailed the chair of the department yesterday. Like, yes, I've been emailing them." And then they were like, "Okay, call him." And I was like, "What do you mean call him?" And they were like, "Yeah, call him right now." And I was like, "I can't just call the chair of the department. I don't like, do you know who he is?" And they were like, "Julianne, there's only one way to show that like you're so interested, and you only live once. Like, you have to do it. This is like once in a lifetime opportunity. You're not going to get this chance again for this school." And so I ended up calling him, which was so scary. Like, that was so out of my comfort zone. And I just remember I had choir class at that period, and even my choir teacher was like, "You will not come back into this class until you have called him." And so I went out in the hallway and I called the chair of CCM, and he was like really shocked that I called him. But he was also like, "Wow, you have proven that you were like everything that like we would want for a student in CCM, someone who's like really driven and someone who knows what they want and everything." And he was like, "You've done all that you can to prove that you want to get into school." He also said that they hadn't moved up like any female representing people up yet, but he's like, "But I just want you to know that you've done everything that you can, and you should be really proud of yourself." And then it was a couple days later, I want to say, I get this email, and it was like, "I think this is very well deserved news that you've been waiting for." And then it said that I got accepted, and it was like, it was so cool. I was in my house, and I think I literally screamed. And then like and then my dad and my little sister went running to see me because they thought like I got hurt.
You'd broken your leg.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it was so amazing. That was in May when that happened.
Yeah. That was like after a decision day, right? Like May
Yes.
1st is the decision day.
It was
Everyone's
May
got to
15th.
notify. May 15th.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That is a waiting game.
Yeah.
That is wild.
It was crazy. And then after that, I was now between two schools now, and it was a lot of research. I talked to alumni. I think the main thing that helped me choose CCM was the fact that everyone was just so welcoming and so nice. Like, the minute I got waitlisted, a lot of like the current students followed me on Instagram, texted me, and were like, "Oh my gosh, hey, I was waitlisted too." Or they were like, "Hey, like, I'm so excited to possibly meet you," and stuff. And it was just so welcoming, and I was like, that's the environment that I want to be a part of.
Wow. Gosh, congrats to you both. What a journey. I'm curious though, Julianne. So May 1st, you were still holding out on this wait list thing. And that's usually the deadline to say like yes or no. So were you getting pressure from other schools to give them their yes or no? Like, how did you navigate that quote deadline?
I absolutely did. I got a lot of emails, and because I really at that point was just between two, so like all the other schools,
Yeah.
like, "Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity," but I declined it because I wanted to do it as fast as possible so other people on the wait list could like get put into the program, because I know how frustrating that is. And so, particularly with the other school that I was interested in, I felt so bad because I had to keep on emailing them. I'm like, "I'm sorry, I just figured this out, and now I'm like trying to decide which was which." And I found that pretty stressful because it's like the next 4 years of your life, and it's such a big decision to choose like what school you want to go into. So I had to really like think about it, but also in just like a few days because I needed to give them their answer. So that was pretty stressful.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a wild situation. Wild and exciting. All right, I wonder now that you're well past this process and you've begun the next chapter. You're at school. You're like doing the school thing. I'm so excited for you both. If you could go back in time and give yourself some advice before starting this process, what would you want to tell yourself?
I would definitely say to myself, the stuff that you're missing and the stuff that you're sacrificing, it will be worth it, because I feel like a lot of the time I missed a lot of things and be like, sorry, I have voice lessons. Sorry, I actually have to practice. Sorry, I have to write my supplementals. Sorry. And also, like, people don't really understand what you're doing, and they're like, girl, why do you not know when you're getting into school yet? Like, we all got our decisions. Where's yours? But, like, because you're on, like, a different path, it doesn't mean, like, what you're doing isn't wrong, and don't let anyone make you feel that way, because I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, okay, musical theater, interesting, but like you kind of feel like you need to be like, no, it's hard, it's hard, like you don't understand, like I'm struggling, it's hard, like, you know, you feel the need to like explain yourself, but like don't let those kinds of things like really get to you. Not saying they really did, like you kind of like, you have your moments of doubt where like, is this, should I be missing this, or should I be like being a senior right now? But at the end of the day, it's like what you want for the, like, these are your next like 4 years into your career. Like, you want to pour as much time and energy as you can. And also, even though I hated hearing this all the time, and honestly, if someone is listening and it's like an incoming and they're like, ugh, here she goes again, you will end up where you're supposed to end up. I hated hearing that. I hated hearing that. And I still low-key hate hearing it. Like, shh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Because I was like, no, I want to end up where I want to end up, not where I'm supposed to end up. But honestly, it's a popular saying because it's right. And it's a popular saying because it's true for a lot of people. But I also feel the anger whenever people say it. I'm like, oh, don't say that. Like, I want to end up where I want to end up.
Yeah, this is a hard truth. I
Yeah.
don't want to swallow
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm glad, though, that on the other side of this, you can see some of the wisdom in that. And maybe that will help some folks who are listening to this who are about to go through this process who are like, maybe that's the truth. I saw Julianne nodding her head in agreement as you were saying that.
Oh my word, yes.
Julianne, what would you go back and give advice to yourself? What would you say?
I first just want to say what you said earlier, gold, honestly, because it is an investment for the next 4 years of your life. So take this time, because even though it is your senior year in high school, and please do enjoy it, please have the time of your life doing it, but like, please also understand that like, if this is what you want to do, then there's like no better time than right now to like go for it, you know? Because I'd say the biggest advice that I wish I had given myself is to not procrastinate. Don't do it. It's not worth it, especially with the essays. It's stressful. It is very stressful, so don't do that.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice. If you could go back and do anything differently, would you say you'd do anything differently? I mean, again, it's led you to where you are now, so maybe the answer is no, but maybe also the answer is write your essays in June and then
Yeah.
be done with them. Yeah.
Other than the essays thing, because I totally would go back and change that, I'm not sure I would change much. I mean, there was a lot that was very challenging, and like I could say, oh, I wish I had have more like dance experience, because that not having it and going to unifieds and realizing that I really am not a dancer was really good for me, I think, in my opinion. It really like made me look at be like, okay, this is like what I specifically need to work on. So I want to go to a school that will specifically help with this more maybe than others, you know?
Mm-hmm. That is an eye-opening experience when you go to these auditions and you realize like, oh, I am not that thing, and that's okay. But I am not that thing. I'll tell you what, I feel the same about myself and my dance experience. And that's like one of those things. It's like, give that advice to like your 8th grade self, go into some ballet classes. But like senior year going into the audition process is not the time to freak out about your dance skills,
Mhm.
or vice versa. Like how high you can belt, or, you know, like the range of your acting. Like it's really about showing up and doing what you do well right now. And I think both of you really excelled in that. I'm curious your thoughts on this. What do you wish other students and their parents or their support systems knew about the college audition process before they got started? Like we've talked about, we worked together through our college prep program. You had amazing help with Nissi through TFCA, Julianne, family, friends, you know, all of this. But if you could give some advice to people who are at the beginning of their journey, what were maybe some things that you did that you would advise or that you didn't do that you would advise? What advice would you give to people who are starting the journey themselves?
What I would give is that there isn't one journey. And I feel like people think, oh, I have to do this. I have to get my lessons and I have to go to Unifieds and I have to do this and I have to do that. There's actually not one journey. And especially even like in my program, like people will be telling me like, oh, I did it through this way. I didn't even know that was a thing. Or you could like, there's a lot of different avenues to get to musical theater or whatever you want in college. And it's not just one way to do it. And also, another thing I would say is maybe this is just for like me and my personality and my kind of person is you don't have to be the quote unquote like perfect theater kid, if that makes sense. I started theater in my freshman year of high school. That was my first musical ever. Like I have never like really done anything outside of high school, even though there's people who have done outside productions, all that stuff. And like I'm a very introverted personality. I'm a very like low-key socially anxious kind of person. I'm not super outgoing, or I'm outgoing, but I'm not outgoing the way a theater kid is outgoing. And you don't have to change who you are in order to do these things. Like I feel like even while I was at Unifieds or I was at these things and I kind of felt a little bit of a pressure to like go out and meet your new classmates and do all your stuff, but that's not what was good for me. And I knew that if I did that, I would probably not do well in my auditions because that's the kind of thing that gets me worked up and gets me nervous and doesn't like, I wouldn't perform as well. So don't think because you're not a certain mold or you're not a certain thing that theater or anything doesn't have a place for you, because it's for people who are unique. And that doesn't mean like you have to be a certain kind of person to be a theater person. You can be any kind of person and do it. Like there's people in my program, because also this is Texas, so big football guy also loves theater, but that doesn't discount who you are like in the theater department. Or you could still really love sciences and stuff like that, or you could really only be theater one track minded, and still there's a program for you and there's a place for you, because programs don't want the same kind of person a million times. They want a bunch of different kinds of people to work together.
Wow, that was so much wisdom. Wow, 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 wow. Amazing. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Yeah, they're not looking for one type of person. And there is space for everyone. And there is a program at the end of the day for everyone that's going to allow you to thrive. How big is your class size, Nisi? How many folks are in the program?
I think there's about 14 MTs, 14 acting majors. I don't know how many BAs or like anything else, but our classes are kind of mixed, if that makes sense. So like the classroom size is about 15 people, but like depending on the class, like acting one is not just all the MTs together, it's acting majors, theater studies majors, BAs. It's like everybody mixed together. So it's not
Cool.
just you're only like same people that you see all the time.
Yeah, that's nice. I think Julianne's class is probably about the same, right? Like 15 people.
Yeah, it's 14. Apparently, we're the smallest class that they've ever had, so that's pretty exciting. Anyway, back on what Nisi said, I literally was just talking to my class about this the other day, and it's like sometimes it's kind of hard when you feel like you don't belong, but in theater, that's the whole point, is that we're all different people. We're all different, beautiful people who come from different backgrounds, and that's how you're able to create such beautiful art, because it comes from different perspectives. It's something that I've always loved about theater, because it's always something that has helped me feel like I belong. Some advice that I would give for like anyone who's starting this out is please do not think that you have to do this process by yourself. Please reach out for help, even if you feel like maybe family can't help or like certain friends can't help. Please find people who can. I remember when I like started, like very beginning started this process, because it was me commenting a question on, I think it was your guys' Instagram post, and I was like, hey guys, how the heck do I go about doing this? And this random person who I had never met before, shout out to Jackson Goad, he, I think, just recently graduated Ithaca College. He found that message, I don't know, by chance, and he like commented back and he was like, hey, I'm in Ithaca right now. I could like give you some advice and tips and stuff if you'd like. And then we like chatted on Instagram, and like he had a Zoom meeting with me and my dad, and kind of like jump started the whole like me figuring out how to go about this whole audition process. And it's things like that. They're like there are people who want to help you. There really are. And it's so beautiful and so comforting. And throughout BVC, like you have no idea how thankful I am to have like had you guys during this process, because the amount of like emails I would send that are absolutely frantic, like there'd be paragraphs upon paragraphs of me being like, guys, I don't know what I'm doing, or like, guys, I've literally cried about this the other day. What is your advice? And because I was like able to reach out, they were able to help me, and I was able to get through some really tough times during my audition process. And also friends, they were super understanding when I reached out. Teachers, my choir teacher, he literally set up a recording studio in his room to help me record my pre-screens. You know, people want to help you. It was such a beautiful and special moment to me, because it really helped me realize that people are team me. And just as like if anyone who's listening in is stressed out, please feel free to like message me if you need anything, because like I want you to succeed. I know BVC wants you to succeed. Everyone wants you to succeed. And it's just, we're all team you, because theater, it's not like only so many people can be a part of theater. Like theater is such a thing where like anyone can be a part of it, and we all want you there. So that would be my biggest advice.
I love that. Wow. You two. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate this so much. And I echo everything you've said about there's a place for you. Theater is a place where we all can belong. And back to something you said at the beginning of our conversation, Nissi, about like, I was so surprised so many people were so helpful. Yeah, I think that's the best of what theater can be. And that's the best of what the theater community is kindness, support, collaboration. At the end of the day, that is what theater and the performing arts is collaboration. You're totally right, Julianne. No one's doing this alone. And there's help out there if you're looking for help going through this process, or just to bounce ideas off of. Find your support people, surround yourself by people who believe in you, and give a little less time and attention to people who are maybe not really along for the ride. You know, really surround yourself with the people who are there for you and supporting you through this process. You're going to need it. And then you can then in turn be that for someone else and show that kindness to someone else, show that to support to someone else. And just a beautiful thing. You both, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so thrilled for you starting your freshman year. Ooh, is there anything this semester that you're like super, super looking forward to, or like already super pumped about?
Yeah, so I actually recently got cast in our first production.
Oh,
yeah.
Congrats. What are you guys doing?
Yay.
It's called, I actually have the script. It's In the Green by Grace McLean. It is, if you have the time to just listen to the recording, it's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm like obsessed with this musical, so I'm really excited to do it.
Congrats. Amazing. That is a really fun thing for your first semester. Nissi, what about you?
I love that. I'm excited for football. I mean, I'm in Texas. I have to be excited for football. Our first game is next week. I'm actually in the halftime show, which I'm really excited about, because not everyone's in the halftime show and they're like, here. I was like, we play LIU, so, we got to beat the Sharks. Sorry to anyone who's LIU fan, but I'm now like a horned frog, so I have to like fight for my team. And I'm really excited to be ADing or assistant directing one of our shows called Stethoscope Stage, and it's like staged readings, and it's like a national thing where like people like submit, and it's in conjunction with our medical school, so we talk about like maternal health and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited because we get to like combine two different worlds, and I'm really excited about that.
It sounds like you are both in for an amazing start to your freshman year. And I vote we do this again in a year and see how it's going.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
I'm pumped for you. Pumped for you. All right, you two. Well, thank you for joining me today, and we will catch you again soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Broadway Vocal Coach podcast. I hope it's inspired you to take action towards your big dreams. Head to the episode description for our show notes, where you can connect with our guests, snag our freebies, and take our quiz. Head to bwayvocalcoach.com to see how you can work with us and take the next step in your career. While you're here, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Talk soon, friend.